Hi everybody, this is just a short message to say that I really enjoy what we have done this week. We have come very far. There were very interesting discussions. Meaning is always a topic which people find very fascinating and which they can then enter into engaging discussions. For instance, on the forum we found a discussion on word meaning. Right, so in the video we talked with Martin and Inge about what does a book mean, and I challenged you to find the definition for some words, some tight definition for a word. And well, some of you responded, like Kathleen Skellett responded, and she said she tried to define a pen, and she said it's a thin cylindrical form with ink inside, usually cased in metal or plastic with a ballpoint or other means for extracting the ink from the inside. It may have a cap to keep the ink from drying while it's not in use. It's used to write or draw on paper. Okay, then there is some discussion by other people. So Agnieszka, who says, well, what about quill pens, which are not cylindrical? What about pens which don't have the ink inside but outside, in inkwells, are they not really inks, etc. Actually, I think one thing which is very telling about Kathleen's definition is the last part, where she says it's used to write or draw on paper. That's typically the real definition of things, right? So it's what is it used for? What do we humans use it for? But that's not something you can basically objectively tell. You see the object and you cannot objectively tell, but we know. And that gives part of the answer to the second question which Caitlin then asks, namely, if defining everyday words is theoretically impossible in linguistics, then how do dictionaries decide on definitions to publish? Are they arbitrary? Well, they're not entirely arbitrary, and they very often work, but that's because they are written for human readers who also have like a linguistic mind, so we just understand, we just get what people say. Actually, Agnieszka has something funny to say about that. She points out that apparently in a certain 18th century Polish encyclopedia, I didn't know that, a certain 18th century Polish encyclopedia, a definition of a horse was given, and that definition, according to her, was something like, everybody sees what the horse is like. And to some extent, all definitions are more or less like that. You point out to some rough class of objects, and then we just get it. But it doesn't mean that the definition is really objectively, let's say, mathematically precise. Okay, so that's one thing. Another thing I always really enjoy is watching your videos, guys. So the videos keep coming in from many languages. Basically, still, most of them are about the examples, the example sentences. So go and have a look on this YouTube playlist I made. And so some of there's many languages. I like it. Many people do Greek for some reason. There's also somebody doing Greek sign language. That's really nice. Or Lithuanian, or Kachi, or Telugu. Many languages. I want to point out also specifically Justin Malcic, who is making a kind of series on Guernsey French. So that's a British Isle where they speak a French dialect, and he is doing a series, not just the sentences, but all kinds of videos about that particular dialect in French. So go there if you like dialect, if you like French, if you like language. Okay, so that's it for this week. Next week there's going to be brand new material, so even if you have already followed this MOOC before, next week you're going to see brand new things, because we're going to look at language in the brain, which we have never done in any run before. Thanks to some of you, we have been able to make it, and it's going to be fascinating. I'm going to show you a brain, but we're also going to go into a real linguistics lab.